Joining us now is Rebecca Roiphe. She's a former assistant district attorney in the Manhattan DA's office, where the new senior counsel, Matthew Colangelo, will be working. She's now a professor at New York Law School. Ms. Roiphe, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
DA's office or AG's office?
DA's office.
So the AG's office and the DA's office, aside from the fact that we call them by their initials,
yes,
it's frustrating. Tell me about what it means to have somebody who had that kind of experience in the New York Attorney General's office coming into the DA's office. I think particularly those of us, people watching from outside New York, don't necessarily know the difference between these offices and what their different remits might be.
Right. So the DA's office is primarily a prosecutorial office. It does criminal cases, and the Attorney General in New York primarily has responsibility for civil cases. It has some jurisdiction over criminal cases, but less so. So the fact that he's coming over here probably does mean that it's not because of his experience prosecuting cases. It's because of his experience supervising important major investigations, and particularly this investigation into the former president.
And I think we generally think of civil cases, again, those of us who aren't lawyers, we tend to think of civil cases as, citizen A suing citizen B. In the case of these civil cases brought by the New York Attorney General's office, I think the one that might be more clarifying for us is one that was covered very closely in the press, including here on this show, which was Trump operating what was alleged to be essentially a fake charity, using this Trump Foundation, which is supposed to be a charitable instrument, to instead put money in his own pockets and do political favors for himself. The result of that civil lawsuit was the shutdown of the Trump Foundation, which tells you something about what kind of teeth there can be in these findings in these civil cases. Matthew Colangelo was lead on that.
Right, 100%. So it's kind of like a civil case where the victim is the public, where instead of being like, somebody suing somebody else because that person was hurt, suffered some kind of damages, instead it's like the public suffered damages. So there's a civil case that's brought on the public's behalf. That's what the Attorney General is doing. Yeah.
So in this case, what Mr. Colangelo, as you said, them bringing him on as a senior counsel, they gave an exclusive to the New York Times. They put a press release out thereafter. They obviously want people to know this is happening. They're not naming him as a person working on Trump things. But because he doesn't have experience in the past as a criminal prosecutor, it is his expertise related to Trump that he sort of brings with him as his baggage into this, the reason presumably they brought him on board. Should we surmise from that some of the facts and some of the understanding that he garnered during these civil investigations will now result in criminal charges being brought against Trump on related matters?
I think it's an exaggeration to say from this we can read that there will necessarily be some kind of indictment involving the same facts as were involved in those civil cases. But I think we can draw a conclusion that these cases and investigations are extensive, potentially extensive, and ongoing. And that itself is significant because there was some question back when, several prosecutors left the office about whether, in fact, that was true. I think now we can pretty much say to ourselves, OK, these investigations are going on, and they probably don't have to do with, some small issue that could be resolved by the office itself, but rather are extensive and complex.